Well, Tom, delighted to announce that you're the latest new face to join us in our Blues family here at Goldington Road, joining Bedford Blues for the 2025-26 Champ Rugby campaign. Just first of all, your thoughts, your reasons for joining us for next season?
Yeah, I think for me, when there was the opportunity to come to Bedford, it's a club that I've always, held in high regard, especially in that championship. There's a lot of history at Bedford. Having spent a year in Italy, to have the chance to come back to the UK and play for a strong club was exactly what I was hoping for. So I'm really excited by that. And yeah, like I said, a club with a big fan base seems like a great environment. It was kind of a no-brainer to come back and play for Bedford.
You have a small amount of championship experience before coming here and a well-travelled player as well, played in, I think, four different nations. Um, Talk to us about fans. It would be fair to say probably won't know who you are when you arrive here at Goldington Road. What sort of player do you see yourself as?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, like you said, spent a little bit of time at Hartpury previously, and then I think the last couple of years playing in Australia, and then a year full time in Italy has kind of helped me round my game. I'd say I'm a player that likes to drive the team, get the best out of those around me, and I feel that's probably one of my strong points is leading the game plan, helping to bring others into the game, but then also having that attacking edge myself as well, which I know is something that Bedford look for, and the kind of attacking brand that they play. I feel something that's really exciting for me to be able to show my skill set, show my kicking game, and show my running game as well.
All players will obviously want to target being in the team every week. I guess the challenge for you is going to be probably one of the toughest of any player coming in. The jersey was held down really well by Will last season, championship leading marksman and all those kind of things. I'm sure you're not naive to think you're going to play every game, but a lot of learning potential as well as getting your game on the pitch.
Yeah, for sure. I think, and that's something that excites me. When I spoke to Mike, I've had a year, like I said, playing in Italy where I was that person that played every minute of every game and was kind of the spine of the team, which was brilliant. But I feel at this stage, I'm really in a position where I want to push on. And yeah, like you said, there's an opportunity there to learn off Will, a player that's very established at championship level. Someone like myself, I'd like to come in, learn as much as I can from him, but also be able to, put my stance on things and really push myself into that squad when I'm given an opportunity. I know it's not going to be easy. I know I'm going to have to work hard for it, but that's something that excites me. I work best when I've got a challenge, when I've got something to aim for. And yeah, like I said, that opportunity is something that I feel will get the best out of me and probably the best out of the team as well.
Your season in Italy was actually a very good one for the club. History made at Biella in terms of getting them promoted to Serie A. I guess I was talking to a few players yesterday actually, and they were talking about they're excited to join Bedford because it's got a winning culture. Where you're coming from a winning culture, so that should hopefully help.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, everyone wants to be part of a team that have got high ambitions. That's always something that I look for and really excites me when I speak to a club that have got high ambitions because you want to be surrounded by players that are all striving towards something. I think when you've got that common goal, you really get the best out of yourself as an individual, but also the team. And that's something we had at Biella. We had a group of players that actually we weren't afraid to say that, we could do something exciting this year. And I think that's probably something similar at Bedford. They're building that culture where they are now competing at the top of the league. So that's something that is exactly what you'd want to be a part of as a player.
Competing at the top of the league is obviously something we're going to want to do again next season. Obviously, delighted last year to come second, our best league finish for 13 years. This year, the introduction of playoffs. Worcester, I don't need to tell you what league you're coming into. I'm sure you've researched it enough, but it just feels like for players that are coming into the league, there's a bit more excitement than maybe previous years where winning the trophy wasn't really all it was meant to be because Ealing was so far ahead of everyone. Whereas next year, this playoff campaign, it could be quite exciting. You can finish sixth and win the trophy at the end of it. It just feels a bit more jeopardy in the league next season.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's probably what's been lacking from the championship over the last few years is, that playoff system and clubs having something to aim for. Like you said, my season last year with Biella, it was, every game was based around getting to the playoffs. And once you get to the playoffs, then you've got something to play for. And I feel that extra motivation is what you need, really. You need that competitiveness. That's why we play sport, right? To have something at the end of the season, something you're working towards. So yeah, definitely from a personal perspective as well, it's something that's drawn me back to the UK and to the championship is that slight change in system and the excitement and the hype around the league because as a player, like I said, that's what you want to be involved in. You want to be involved in those big games.
You're talking to us from the Southern Hemisphere, might not be playing out in Australia at the moment, but you have done in the past. It's every player I spoke to yesterday has played out in Australia. We've got players in the team currently that have played in Australia. What is it about the Southern Hemisphere that attracts players for that short period of whether it's the Queensland competition in Brisbane or I know you were involved in the Shoot Shield in Sydney? What is it about the Southern Hemisphere that draws people over in the summer?
Yeah, so I think for me, there's a couple of things. One, the attraction of coming over and playing rugby in the sunshine in slightly better conditions, and being better suited to running rugby is definitely one thing. But then secondly, I think the same, like you said, with my time in Italy as well. As many environments as you can play in is going to benefit you as a player. I feel having experienced the Australian way of playing and maybe a little less structure, playing from all areas kind of thing has definitely added a dimension to my game. And then I think for me, it's about getting as many different experiences as you can in different places, seeing how they do things slightly differently. It's the same game, but a slightly different approach. Then, once you can add that to your game and come back to the championship, I think you come back a much better player than, well, definitely in my circumstance, come back a much more rounded player than when I left because I've been able to take little bits from the different environments I've been in and the different approaches.
In terms of you've spoken about the fan base in a couple of your answers. I've seen some of the videos. I think your kick to the corner in the playoff final and they score in the corner. It seemed absolutely mental out there, to be fair. But what that shows is that you've played in front of big crowds, you've played in front of pressure moments and all those kind of things. Goldington Road must be really exciting for you.
Oh, for sure. And yeah, like I said, the competitiveness of sport is something that I love, something I've been brought up around. I've played rugby, since I was 5 years old for as long as I can remember. And the games you always look forward to are the ones that have got a bit of pressure around them. For me, especially as a playmaker, there's no better feeling than, having involvement in the game, like you said, with that cross-field kick. That goes to hand, we score in the corner to go up and you hear the crowd go wild. Like that's just, you can't replace that feeling. That's exactly why we play the sport. That's what makes the practice pay off and all the hours you put in is when you have that feeling. And yeah, like you said at Goldington Road, having a big fan base, having the support around us is definitely going to drive us on as a team and certainly myself as an individual.
If you've watched any of these interviews, you'll know that the last question is always the same for new faces arriving. Do you have a special message for our supporters going into the 2025-26 Champ Rugby campaign?
No, I just think, yeah, the main thing for me is it's a pleasure to be involved in Bedford, and I want to come in and be able to add to the environment, add to the squad, and yeah, I'm just really excited to get going, get started with pre-season, and hopefully then, like you said previously, they might not know who I am now, but hopefully I can then start to put my stance on things and start to become slightly better known at Bedford.